Hi there, welcome to today's video. I'm Jeanette with Vivo Vintage Designs. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm glad you're here. On this channel, we learn alcohol ink, watercolor, and other creative art projects together. All right, now that that's out of the way, let's get started. Hello my friends and welcome to today's video. In today's video we're going to paint a bouquet of tulips and we're going to paint this very loosely. I don't want you to think too much about your brush strokes, and I want you to give yourself permission to just paint without overthinking it. And I'm hoping that you find this as relaxing as I did. So again, this is going to be really simple. I'm using my Kuretake paints and I'm just spraying them with a little water to activate them. I'm going to put my color chart in front of me so I can select my colors wisely. Sometimes I just wing it. This time I decided to put it in front of me so I can see the colors that I have. So you can see that I have loosely sketched out I guess like a vase, an oval vase, and I've added some ovals where I want my tulips to be. And now I'm painting my background. So I took a little bit of the ultramarine pale and I had some indigo on my palette, on my dirty palette that you see there on the right hand side. And I made sure to add some water so it's nice and diluted. I wanted the background to be really light and I'm using a large brush to get that background in. And I'm not worried about getting in between all the flowers that I sketched out or anything like that. Again, this is going to be loose and it's just going to be a fun and relaxing painting. We're not looking for perfection here. This is whimsical, impressionistic, whatever you want to call it, folk artsy, whatever it is, just enjoy the process. So you can see I painted my background and then I added a little bit of heavier consistency of the indigo on the right hand side where I want my shadow to be. Now I've switched to a smaller brush and I am using a combination of red, rose madder deep, and cadmium scarlet to paint these tulips. And I'm just using the tip of the brush, making 3 little swipes, using a combination of the colors. I'm not really even cleaning the brush so much. I'm just adding a little bit of water to it and I'm just picking up color and 3 little swipes of the brush, and it's a tulip because I said so. So I'm not looking to make these look very realistic. I think that once you look at the painting, you'll know that they're tulips. Now, if you don't want to have to draw this out, you can pause the video at the end and take a screenshot of my finished painting. You can print it out and you can either trace or use it as your reference. But it's fairly simple. I just drew ovals where I wanted my flowers to be. And the vase, I drew a larger oval. And then I added handles to mine, but you can make your vase any shape and any size that you like. Okay, so now that I have my tulips in, I am picking up some cadmium yellow and using the tip of my brush. I think this brush that I'm using is a size 6 or a size 8. I'm just using the tip of the brush and I'm dotting. And then I'm also picking up a little bit of that cadmium scarlet on the brush with the yellow, just to add a little variation in color. And I'm just adding these little sprays of flowers in between the tulips that I painted. Now here I've switched to my smaller brush and I'm using sap green to paint the stems. And I'm just using the tip of the brush. Tulips have a thicker stem, so I'm adding a little bit of pressure to make sure that they're not too thin. And now for the leaves of the tulips, I'm using a combination of olive green, hooker's green, sap green deep, whatever greens I have on my palette. I'm just dipping the brush into those colors and creating those beautiful, long and delicate leaves. And I'm making sure that I have the leaves going in all different directions and filling in the spaces where I think I might need a little something. Now I decided that I needed another color in there, so I picked up a little ultramarine and turquoise blue, mixing those two colors right on the brush. And then again, just dotting with the tip of the brush and filling in any empty spaces. My flowers are very compact, but you can make yours looser. And I'm just filling in little spaces here and there, especially towards the center of the painting where I don't want too much white space. And as always, you don't have to use the same colors I'm using. You can make your tulips any color you like. I'm just hoping to inspire you and give you some ideas. And when you recreate this painting, make it your own. Use whatever colors you like, whatever flowers you like. Again, you can see just how simple this is. It's just a couple of swipes of the brush. Don't overthink it. Okay, so now I'm picking up a little burnt sienna and raw umber deep to paint the table that these flowers are sitting on. And you can see I'm picking up water as I go along so that it's not too dark. But on the right-hand side, I'm adding more of the raw umber to deepen the color because that's the side where my shadow should be. Now to make the vase a little bit more whimsical, I wanted to add some black dots. And I did pencil them in first. And you can see here I'm using my size 4 silver black velvet brush. And I'm creating the outline of the circles. And once I have a few of them down, I'm cleaning my brush, dabbing it on my paper towel. And I'm using that damp brush to move the color from the outside to the inside of those circles. Now I let this dry for a little while, and I am mixing a little bit of white with the black and making sure that it's diluted enough. And I'm creating a little shadow on the right-hand side. Again, that's the side of my painting that is in shadow. And I'm also adding a little shadow to the right of the flowers that are falling on the top of the vase. Then I'm picking up a little bit more of that black mix and defining the side. And then for the left-hand side, I really diluted the color, and I'm just adding a little shadow on that side just so that the vase looks round. It gives it a little bit more dimension. And here I'm using that same diluted black to paint in the handles. Now the inside of this handle should be shaded. So you can see that the paint is very diluted, but then I'm going to pick up a darker or heavier consistency of the black, and I'm going to add a little shadow on the inside of that handle. And this one on the right hand side is going to be a little darker because, again, it's in shadow. I thought it was a little too dark, so I just cleaned my brush and lifted some of that paint. And here you can see I'm adding a heavier consistency of that black to create a more defined shadow on the inside of the handle. And you can see my pot is not perfectly round, and that's okay. And I forgot to paint that little part of the table in between the handle and the pot, so I'm just adding a little color there. And this would be really cute for a card. It's just a simple little painting, or even in a tiny frame. Adorable. And now I thought that my flowers looked a little too compact and a little too low, sitting too low, so I decided to add a few more tulips to kind of loosen it up a little bit without going overboard, which is really hard for me usually. Now I'm just adding my stems, and then I'm going to add a few more little leaves. And I forgot I wanted to add a little shadow at the bottom of the flower pot. So I've mixed a little of that black that I had on the palette with some of the indigo that I also had on the palette. I diluted it, and now I'm just adding a little shadow to make it more interesting. And while the bottom of the painting dries, I'm using my size 0.05 micron pen, and I'm going to start adding a little stem in between those little dots, those little sprays of flowers that I created to make them look attached to something so they're not just floating in my flower pot. And then I'm going to use that same marker to outline some of all the flowers and some of the leaves. And I'm using Academy 100% cotton cold press paper. So when you use cold press paper and you're using a micron pen, your micron pen, if you don't use a lot of pressure, will kind of skip. So be careful because you can ruin the tip of your micron pen. And I'm not trying to create a perfect outline, and I'm not using a lot of pressure. So my marker is skipping on the paper, but I like that look. And if you want to define your lines a little bit more, you can use a little bit more pressure, or you can go over your lines. And you can see that I'm cleaning the nib because, of course, I'm not patient. So some of these flowers were wet, and I don't want to clog up the nib of the marker, so I clean it off on the paper towel. And I'm adding a little line in the center, a curved line in the center of the tulips for more detail, so it looks like a petal. But it's not even necessary. And now I'm just outlining the pot. And again, you can see it's wonky. It's not perfect, and that's okay. And adding this outline just gives the painting some more definition, and it makes the elements stand out a little more. And I'm really happy with the way this turned out, so I'm going to sign it. Off camera, I did use a Posca pen to add a red border. And again, you don't have to do that. I thought I was finished, but then I decided to use a white Posca pen to add some highlight to the painting. I thought that was a really nice touch. So you can see I'm just dotting here and there, adding a little line on the leaves and on one side of the flowers. And I thought that was a really nice finishing touch. I also added a highlight to the black circles on the left-hand side. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this and that you give it a try. I will see you in the next one. Bye.